I have combined 3 colors because I wanted these colors combined. I'm using dyed needles, the burgundy dyed needles and the green dyed needles, and then I'm using natural needles that have no color at all. And I've decided to mix up the colors because I think these 3 colors look great together. And I'm using white and green and burgundy threads on this basket. I wanted to plan my design. It is a spiral pattern. It started here and it's a continuous coil. The center has a star. These are all completely wrapped rows. And once I got past that star, I began a checkerboard pattern. You can see a little bit more clear on here. The first rows, the needles are completely hidden. You don't see the colors at all. These checkerboard pattern, you do see the different color needles in there, but I want the next section to reveal a lot more of the multicolored, so that's why I'm doing a different stitch there. And my plan is I'm gonna switch to white thread for a different stitch. When I do this row, I will start rounding up my sides. And continuing this basket project, I am doing the straight stitch for rounding up the edges of my basket. This stitch, I think it's called a straight stitch, but it tends to spiral. You can see the angle of the stitches. They kind of lean at an angle, and if you were to do a basket with this stitch, it would look like a spiral going all the way around. And I've done a basket with that stitch. I do have another video. I think I called it a spiral stitch because it looks like a spiral, and I did the whole basket with that. I think I did the whole basket except for the very center. I had a wood center. And I like the tie stitch, which I haven't used on this basket. Don't know if I will. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going with this basket. I graphed out a plan. My aim was to, start in the middle and just keep going and spiral, spiral, spiral. And my transitions take place where you can't really see where the start and stop. On paper, you can see it a little bit. And here, it is kind of hard to see. It's disguised pretty well. That's why I like the design of this basket, because there's no abrupt start and stop. I know the start and stop of my basket is right here, because the burgundy row starts right there and ends right here. So this is the ending point. Now the ending point of the green was right here, and the ending point of the center is right here. I know, but at first glance, it's kind of disguised, so you really can't see it all that well. Probably the most place you can see it is where it abruptly goes from white to green. And that's sort of a clue right there. But the checkerboard that I did in my last video, I showed you how I did that. That kind of disguised it, and then I transitioned back to the white thread, and I'm doing my sides with the straight stitch. One reason that I chose to do this stitch. So I am using this stitch, the straight stitch, as really a transition to the next stitch. I'm using it sort of in between some quality stitches that as a transition, because it is an easy one to transition and shape and round up your basket. And also because it's an easy one to shape the basket. And when you're shaping the basket, you just hold it in the position you want. Now, you can go straight up or you can angle it. This first one is slightly angled, but then I'm kind of working my way straight up because I want my sides to be straight up. But you can decide how you want to shape it. Another reason that I chose to do this stitch is because I wanted to show the colors of my needles. Sometimes I put my pin right up underneath my thread so I can slide that needle I just put in so it slips under those two. Because this is here, you can't see my needles at all. They're completely covered up because these are wrapped rows. Here you can see them a little bit, but they're still half covered. So I wanted this stitch to be able to show off the different colors that I have in the basket. Now I want to show you how I do that stitch, the straight stitch. My thread is coming out right here in the middle of a coil. When I say the middle of a coil, I mean through the coil, okay? This is between the coil, okay? Where my needle is, that's between the coil. But the middle of the coil is like going through the needles. So I'm coming out through the middle of this second coil. I'm working off the top coil. Now my thread is going to go over the top like this, and it's going to line up. It's going to line up at an angle. So over to the next stitch, I want to go to the left. Hope you can see it. It's hard to tell with the lighting. I'm trying to figure out the lighting. I got too much shadow. Let me dim the light. Maybe we'll have less shadow. I'm really having a hard time figuring out the lighting here. I don't know if this works. I'll try it a couple of different ways. So I put my needle in into the, not this coil, but the next coil down to the left on the outside of the basket, to the left of the stitch. But then I have to come out to the right of the stitch, and I go through the middle of the coil because the needle is going through the pine needles, holding this thread down. Okay, now I got my needle placed, and I pull my thread through. I'm holding my thread tight. Now I can let go of it, and there it is. All right, I'm gonna hold the coil. See how it wants to spring out? I'm gonna hold it like this. I take my, well, you know what? See how that's sticking out right there? I don't want that sticking out, so I want to slip that right up underneath the stitch just so it's holding it better. Okay, now take my fingernail and I just kind of flatten out my thread. It's going at an angle like this, and I need to come down on the back side, on the left side, in the middle of the coil, and it's a steep angle because I have to come back to the stitch right here. Not this one, but the next one. So you can see the angle of my needle. The thread is going that way. The needle is going the opposite direction. I got it. We hold this in place. Stretch this out with my, flatten out the sinew with my thumb. Pull it over close to where I'm going to go in. Go through the coil, the second coil down, the previous coil, but we have to angle it from the inside. We have to look, where am I going? We want our needle to come out. It's coming out right here to the right side, inside of the basket. Right side, outside, right side, inside. And we'll pull it. Okay. Let's do another. That was still good. With my thumb, flatten out the sinew so it looks like a nice wide stitch. I have it right next to where I'm going to go. We go down to the next coil to the right side of the outside, and then we have to look to have it come to the inside, the right side of the inside. We pull it through. Before I do the next stitch, I need to reload my needles. Okay, now it's time to reload. Sometimes when you load them in, they just go right inside and you don't even see them. It's nice when they do that. Maybe if I just zoom in close. I don't know. I feel like it's too dark. Now I am using a combination of 3 different color needles. I put together a bundle of my needles, and so I usually grab a random color. If I see a lot of green and burgundy, then I'll grab a beige. If I don't see enough green, then I grab a green. You see, it's a lot of light right there, so I want to make sure I put some burgundy in here. If it doesn't slip underneath the thread, I lift it up with the needle to make sure it slips. I think I need another green. So I want my colors mixed up well. I'm going to see if I can do this. Separate and put, it's got a nice fine point, so I can just slip it right in. You don't see it at all. Ooh, we don't have any green on that side. So let's add another green. I want to make sure we have some green in here. It wants to go on top. Okay, well, pick up the thread and slide the needle. Come on, needle, slide. It's this one, right? Sometimes the needles break. Okay, where's my needle? I need my needle to help lift that thread so I can shove it underneath. Okay, I have my gauge firm. It doesn't slip very good, so I'm ready to continue. This is tight, so I'm ready for the next one. When you work in your basket, be careful that you don't bend your needles down like this, because you might break them. I was trying to help a gentleman learn basket making, and he was forever just bending this part, forgetting about watching that side. Well, I kind of accidentally split the thread right here, and I really don't like that. So I'm going to correct it by getting my needle underneath this little half that I missed. It's a little difficult to do. I'm running into the corner of the basket. Because I'm supposed to be on the right side. Ah, I still got one tiny little piece I missed. 2 little strands. I'm correcting my little mistake so that I will be on the right side of the thread. There, I fixed it. Coming out on this side. It's always the right. You go in on the right on the outside, come out on the right on the inside. Whoops, did I come out in the wrong place? I did, and that can happen. I should have came out over here. I got confused and I came back here. So what do you do in that case? Well, we have to take the stitch out, so I have to separate my tail from this, take off the needle, and we have to pull our thread back out because we are going in the wrong place. Okay, now my thread's around my basket and I'm all confused. Hold on, that's not wrong. It's not wrong. It goes like this and it comes out there. I'm coming out in the right place. It just looks confusing. Never mind. Yeah, sometimes that can be confusing because everything's at such an angle. Okay, I want to show you a couple of things I don't like about this particular stitch. the needles tend to shift. And like, see, this one moved and it's on top of the thread. So push it back. Here's another one, push it back. Here's one that just sticks out. This one has moved on top. Let's slide it back. See, the needles kind of shift around, and that's one thing I don't like about this particular stitch. So you have to check your work, and sometimes it leaves little points sticking out. So let's look. There's a little point right there. When it's several rows down, you can't just slide it back and forth. Right, here's another one. A little point sticking out right there. So cut it. But that's one thing I noticed is the needles tend to shift a little bit. So you have to look for those little points. Sometimes they catch you. Your thread will catch it, or your finger will catch it. But yeah, that's one of the problems with that particular stitch, is that the needles will shift this way or that way, and it's easy to move them around. This is not my favorite stitch. The reason I don't like it and I don't use it a whole lot is because when you're stitching, you're breaking the coil. You're stitching right through the coil. Sometimes you make more than one hole as you're trying to find the right spot. And that's what I don't like about this stitch, because you're essentially breaking the needles. That's why I don't like this stitch, because I'm breaking the pine needles, because the needle is going through the pine needles. And I don't really feel like it's a strong or stable stitch. What I've done here and what I've done here, those are very strong and very sturdy, very stable. And this basket, I don't think it's going to weaken the integrity of the basket. It's got a brown spot. I'll cut that off, because it's got such a solid base. And it's going to have strong sides. And I'll finish it off well. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to finish it off, and I don't know how tall I want to make it. Why does that make a little mark right there? Did I go too far out? Did I come in the wrong place? You know, I'm really confused right now. Next stitch has to go there. Why does it show a little stitch? Not sure. And that's a funny thing about it. Sometimes it goes straight, and sometimes it leaves a little mark, and I don't like that. But I don't want to split the thread. I've tried it with a split the thread. I'm trying to keep it angled because I want it to look the same on the inside and the outside. I'm glad this is the lower side of the basket, because I want to do a nicer stitch as I come up the sides of the basket. Once I get to my starting point, which is somewhere down here, then I will be able to change my stitches. Now, I'm tossing around either doing the diamond stitch or the popcorn stitch for my next section of stitches. I am using a shorter needle because of the tightness of the curve here, because a long needle would make it a little harder to do. So this basket will probably be like a sample, because it's going to have a variety of stitches in it. Wrapped rows, checkerboard, straight stitch, and possibly the popcorn stitch or the diamond stitch. Or maybe I'll do a little bit of diamond and then do popcorn. I don't know. I will figure that out when the time comes. So I hope you found this helpful. If you want to learn more, I have a whole channel devoted to nothing but pine needle basketry on Rumble. Please go over there. It's a devoted channel simply to pine needle basketry, nothing else. That's where I'm posting my videos, where you can learn everything there is to know about pine needle basketry from start to finish, to even dyeing the needles. I am an award-winning basket maker. I picked it up pretty quickly how to do pine needle basket. And when I shared a picture of my very first basket, people were like, wow, it looks like you've been doing it for years. Well, because I'm an artist, I understand composition. I'm fussy about composition and color contrast and color combinations and stuff like that. So it just kind of comes naturally to me. I was trying to learn how to do woven baskets, and I've learned, and I do know how to do woven baskets. But I love the pine needle basketry because it doesn't really have a pattern. It's far more artistic. With a woven basket, you have to have a pattern. You have to have everything pre-measured and pre-cut, and it's kind of all planned out. The result, except for the color changes you make, it's kind of all the same. But with a pine needle basket, it's more artistic because you don't really know what the end result is going to be. You just, well, to me, the basket kind of speaks to me. It kind of tells me, okay, it's time to change stitches, or it's time to change color. I guess I kind of like the free flow motion of pine needle basketry because you don't know where it's going to take you. There's no set pattern or plan, so it's almost like every basket is its own surprise. And sometimes you start off a basket, you don't know what it is, you may have a general idea. Now, this is the first basket I've made a plan, and that's as far as I got. The cool thing so far about this basket is that the inside and the outside looks exactly the same. This is the bottom of the basket. This is the inside of the basket. They look the same. Because of everything that I've done, the stitches that I've used, it looks the same inside as it does outside. So that's kind of cool. And you can see it's not very deep yet, so I want it to grow much deeper. So I finished my straight stitch or spiral stitch, whatever you want to call it. I have done 4 rows of it, and I'm at my starting point, which is right here. Next video, I will show you the next stitch once I decide whether I'm going to do the diamond stitch or the popcorn stitch. So look for my next video. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you found it useful, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.